is module number 4. It's called project management, right? So initially we'll be looking into what is project management. Then we look into the network diagram and followed by analysis of network diagram called critical path method, and it is abbreviated as CPM, and then followed by a program evaluation review technique, which is PERT, and then finally will be on crashing. In fact, these three things like the project management, the network techniques, it's module number 5, whereas CPM is module number 6 and PERT is module number 7 for construction project management course. But since in an operational research, it's a combined, or in fact it is condensed to a single module, right? So without further ado, let's get started, right? The first thing you should know about project triangle, and this is also known as triple constraints, right? So what are the elements in a project is the cost, the time, and the quality, right? So all these things are called constraints, and the scope or the success or the profitability of a project depends upon all these things, right? If all these things are in equilibrium and the scope is well defined and it is well achieved also. But if any one is increasing, like say for example, if cost gets increased, it moves this vertex to the upper level, so invariably it will put down the other elements in a shorter thing. Like for example, the time can be shorter or quality can be shorter. So how it is so is that say for example, a project can be done with 150 people. If you employ 300 people, and it could shorten the time of the construction of the project itself, right? So that's how the cost increases and time decreases. And sometimes when the time increases and the cost can come down, as well as the quality can also come down, right? So too much time, if you make up a particular project, then the consistency won't be there, the quality might deteriorate, and then the cost also may be not as high when you bombard with a lot of people, right? As simple as that. So this is the triple constraint. So this will be the focus. Generally, cost and time are quantitative entity. We can measure them, whereas quality, or the name itself is a quality, so it's a qualitative entity. So it's just intangible benefits. So you cannot generally measure in terms of numbers, but you can very well visualize or achieve that through some metrics, something like that, right? So that's the triple constraints or the project triangle. So that you should really know, right? So that's what it's here. When change made in any one of the constraint, the other two gets, at least one gets adversely affected. So that's what basically the triple constraints means, right? When you make everything in equilibrium, then the scope of the project is well defined and well achievable, something like that, right? So the first part in module number 4, project management, is the network analysis. Before we get into what is network analysis or how do we represent them or how do we solve them, so let's take a look at what is network, right? So network is the graphical representation of all the activities put together in a form of pattern or in form of a graph, you can even say. In fact, the networks are also known as project graphs. Some literature, they call them as a project graphs. And then it has got different activities arranged in a logical sequence. Like it has a start activity, intermediate activities, and end activity, and so on. So it's actually a bundle of all the activities to achieve a certain task or a certain project or outcome, right? So activity is the actual performance of a job. Say for example, activity A, activity B. Activity A is like cleaning the equipment or something like that. Activity B may be polishing, activity C may be painting, but all these things consume some duration, some time frame associated with that. It is not like all activities have the same time frame, or all activities may have equal patterns or something like that. So that's in terms of multiples or something. It's not so. Because every activity is unique, so it shows its time also. Like we'll come back to that a little later when we do our critical path method. But as of now, understand activity is the performance of a job or a task, and that has some resources associated with that. When I say resources, it could be time, or it could be people, or it could be money, or machinery, or it could be material, right? So all these things matter. Say, for example, a task that is performed by human, then we can even have time as the resource, or at least number of people as resources. Whereas a job done by autonomous equipment, then you can even take time as a factor, or even money as a factor, like employing those machines or something like that. Right? Then event is the definite start and end, or it is the demarcation of start or end of an activity. Right. So number of events will be there. Like the first of its kind will be the start event, which will be the initial part of every activity, and there's another thing called the end event, which marks the end of that particular activity. So it means that during that particular event, that particular activity take place, and then event does not consume any resources. Generally, it does not consume any time. It's just like a marking entity, right? So it marks the start and completion of an activity, whereas activity consumes time, which is actually the actual performance of a job or a task or something. The duration, as I told you, it's a time frame from the start and end of a project. If you take activity duration, it will be the start and end of the activity. Whereas if you take project duration, it is the start and end of the project, particular project, which has the number of activities and number of events into it. And as I told you, a project is a combination of all the interrelated activities with the time frame, and it should be completed in a logical sequence or in terms of order, something like this. Some order will be there. Like if activity A and B and C are there, if B depends on A, you cannot start activity B unless A is completed. Say, for example, if activity C also depends on A, you cannot start activity C unless activity A gets completed, right? So if activity A and B are there for a particular prerequisite for a particular activity, then unless both activities gets over, the third activity cannot be started. So that's what basically it means, the order, right? So I'll explain you with an example. The network analysis is how you make use of your network to understand and interpret the different components of the networks and its time frames associated with the activities. And that kind of an computation is what we generally call as network analysis. Right? So we'll be taking a look at that maybe tomorrow's class. We'll be solving a network diagram. Then you'll understand much better. There are two methods associated with network analysis. One is the critical path method. One is called another is called program evaluation and review technique. Right. So both are can be called in an abbreviated form. Like critical path method can be called as CPM, whereas program evaluation and review technique can be called as PERT. PERT. Right. So there are other methods available like precedence diagramming, then graphical evaluation review technique, or known as GERT. So, but in your syllabus, like CPM and PERT is there, and also those things have got much implications over the other methods because of its simplicity and easy to apply to a real-time problem. Right? So let's take a look at that. So before we get into network diagram, you have to understand there are two types of network. One is called activity on node, and it is called as AON, and activity on arrow, AOA, right? Many times, like whenever a question is asked in exam with activity on node, students tend to do it on activity on arrow, right? So kindly make sure that this time you read that question carefully and understand what particular network is there, right? So when there isn't any network mentioned, you can feel free to choose any of these two by your own. But if there is a specific network methodology is prescribed, then you have to take that particular network, right? You have to construct that particular format, right? So as simple as that, right? So first thing is the activity, and next is the immediate predecessor. We'll come back to the immediate predecessor a little later. So activity, we have got a start activity, then A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and end activity, right? So as the name suggests, activity on node, these are the different activities, the 9 activities will be present on the node, then on the arrow. So the next one is on the arrow. This is on the node. So all these bubbles, I can zoom a bit so you can understand much better. These bubbles are called nodes. It's also known as events, but technically it's called nodes, right? So these are the nodes. So we have got a start activity in a node, then A, B, C, D, G, E, F, and N. So you might thinking like how do we why not A after A it's B or something like that. So there's a sequence, that is what we call an immediate predecessor, right? Say let's take a look at that individually. So I'll explain it pretty slowly, and you have to really understand or master this concept. It's very important for module number 4. Immediate predecessor is like a prerequisite. Like immediate predecessor is immediate prerequisite. Say for example, if you are in fifth semester, then your fourth semester is your immediate predecessor, whereas semester 1, 2, and 3 will be all predecessors. Like unless you don't do semester 1, you cannot do semester 4, right? So unless you don't study the kindergarten, you cannot get into standard 1, standard 2, and so on. Right? As simple as that. Right? And sometimes after BTech, you can also pursue MTech, a higher degree than PhD. So when you have a highest academic degree called PhD, then nobody's going to ask you like, well, have you done your BTech or have you done your MTech or something? So it's understood. It's a prerequisite for that, right? So as it is as simple as that, right? So for a start activity, there is no immediate predecessor. So which means that for a start activity, there is no immediate predecessor because that is a start at the first activity and it starts as such, right? So we'll put a circle and we'll put a start. This is activity on node, right? Then activity A. Activity A depends on start, and so as activity B and C also depend on start activity, right? So then we talk about activity A. You can even put activity B and C. Then later on we can change it. So it's all trial and error. Construction of network diagrams is all trial and error. So you can pretty well change them. So in an examination, you can draw initially with a pencil. Then when you get a final, diagram, then you can draw that separately with a pen or something like that. So let's take A, B, and C have got start as a predecessor. So unless start is, not happen, so this next subsequent activities also cannot be realized. So that's why we have got A, B, and C. Then comes the activity D. Activity D depends on activity A. So which means that activity D should follow activity A, which is invariably after start. So which means that this is an immediate predecessor. But if you wanted to take a predecessor of D, it is start and A. It is not start and C because C is cannot have a predecessor of D. So C cannot be a predecessor of D because it is the other way around, right? Or at least even D cannot be a predecessor of D because this arrow that matters. We can pretty much say that D can realize only after the start activity as well as the activity A. So that's how it is. Next, we'll take a look at E. Activity E depends on activity B. The activity E depends on activity B. So if you have marked B here, then E will be somewhere here. So in a trial and error, if you have written A, B, C instead of C here, if you put B here, then activity E will be here. But I'll tell you why I put B here. So activity B, then activity E has a predecessor of activity B, which is invariably start, comma, B will be the predecessor of activity E, right? So activity E. Then activity F depends on activity E. Say then F depends on E, so which means invariably start and B. F depends on start, B, and E, right? So that's how it is. Then G. Let's take a look at G. So G has two immediate predecessor, like one is C, one is D. The reason I just draw C here is that because I can draw two lines emerging out of the two activities, C and D for G. So G depends on CD. What happens if I have a B here and E here and F there? So I can draw C here and I can draw G here, but D will intersect another activity here. So here it is, if it is B, it is E. So D, then it strikes off E, then it goes to G. That's not valid. That is called crossover error. So that should be avoided. So then if I created using ABC, then I have to redefine our network as A's. This thing start C and G. So G depends on C and D. Say G depends on C and D. And finally, we have got end. End depends on F and G. So end depends on F, F from here, and G from here. So this is a complete project network diagram on activity on node. Repeat. So start is the initial activity, and this is an activity on node. So the start activity goes into the node. Then it is A, then B and C. Then D depends on A. E depends on B. Then G depends on C and D. Then F depends on E. Then N depends on G and F. So that's how we have got an activity on node network diagram. So this is a very simplified network diagram. We will be discussing network diagram with more number of activities and a lot of associated complexities in later on. So as of now, understand for same 9 activities, we have got activity on node, and this is the final diagram. Right. Next, we'll jump into the activity on arrow. This is the activity on arrow. So activity on arrow diagram. So instead of the activities being incorporated into the node, here we'll have a even numbers. Like for example, activity 1 to 2 is A, and activity B is 1 to 3. So it's 1 to 3, which means that event 1 is the starting event, event 2 is the ending event for activity A, and event 1 is the starting event, and event 3 is the ending event for B, and event 1 is the starting event, and event 4 is the ending event of C, and event 2 is the starting event, and event 4 is the ending event of D, and event 4 is the starting event, and event 6 is the ending event of G, and event 3 is the starting event of E, and event 5 is the ending event of E, and finally event 5 is the starting event for F, and event 6 is the ending event of F. Right, so we have got these things, and this is not the same problem. Remember, that is a different network diagram, and this is a different network diagram altogether. Right, so in this case, you can take a look at the immediate predecessor of ABC. So when ABC does not have any immediate predecessor, it can have a common start events. Say all these things have one, but ending events are different. Right? So okay, we'll take a look at the ending events are different. Right, event to be same. End events are different. It should be different because no end events of both activities are the same. So that's a rule. You cannot have 1 to 2 is A and 1 to 2 below is B. It is not so. You should not have a curved line or something like that. So that's prohibited in activity in arrow network diagram. So that's a basic rule. And then activity D, which has got an immediate predecessor of A, which means that activity D starts after activity A. Activity D starts after activity A. Right. So and activity E starts after activity B. So activity E starts after activity B, and activity F starts after activity E. Activity F starts after activity E. Then activity G depends on C and D. G depends on C as well as D. And then finally, we will be converging into a holistic network. And remember that two things that I want to tell you is that if you take a look at the arrow, it is going from the start to the end event, right? So if you take just take a look at this as a route map. It starts from 1, 2, 2 to 4, and 4 to 6, or it can go to 1 to 4. It cannot go back because you see the arrows the other way. So it can only go to 4 to 6. And same way 1 to 3 and 3 to 5 and 5 to 6. So which means that there isn't any looping. Like what happens if 1 to 2 2 to 4, and 4 to 1. So if this arrow is reversed, then that is called looping. You cannot terminate this network. It will be a trivial process. So those things are called errors in network. So we'll talk about that a little later. But as of now, understand this arrow, being it an activity on node, this actual activity on arrow, so the typo. This is an activity on arrow. Being it activity on node or activity on arrow, you see the arrows does not form a loop, or it does not hang in between. Like there isn't any activity with incompleteness or something like that. Say if this arrow line is not there, then this activity is called hanging activity, and that's an error in network diagram. So you should at least form some closed loop consider thing, right? So that's basically an important thing. So that's rules for constructing network diagram. One is only one arrow in a network diagram, or only one node for a particular activity that has that represents an activity. One arrow should not have two activities, an activity on arrow, or one node cannot have two activities, an activity on node, right? Something like that. The node two activities can identify by the same end event, something like that. So it should not have in fact, they should not have a start and end events being the same. That's what here you can see this node link. It's the same start, but it does not have a same end thing. Like even you can take a look at, even though it has got the same end node, it does not have the same start. So it means both the things are distinct. So that's how you create a network diagram. And the relationship between activities, there are four relationships. So we'll talk about that now. But before that, it should not have any activities hanging or dangling, as I told you, or it should not form a cycling or looping. As I told you, we should not have a cycling and looping. And in case if there is any activity that's hanging, say 1 to 2 is A, and T is not there, let's assume that. So which means that this will be an hanging activity. So you can connect this 2 to 4 or 2 to 6 with dummy link. So dummy link is to maintain the logic, but in order to avoid the hanging activities or hanging error, but it does not consume any duration. It's only to maintain the logic. So that is what we call a dummy activity, right? So it does not have any purpose, but only to maintain the logic, right? To say that that can be followed by that particular activity, which is hanging or something like that, right? And we should not have many dummies then it will be very, very difficult. The network diagram looks trivial. So you can have a minimum and provide dummies only in unavoidable circumstances. Do not provide dummies for all. So only provide it for unavoidable circumstances. And if at all you provide that, provide minimum number of dummies. Somewhere. So these are the different rules for constructing network diagram. And this is what I want to tell you. It's called the precedence relationship, right? So this is an activity or node if you want to describe it. But for this case, we represent by event 1 and 2. And event 1 and 2, event 1 and 2, event 1 and 2. 4 types of precedence relationship available. Remember, this might be a very important question that might be asked in in GATE exam or in an interview also. Like this has been one of the important questions in interview perspective for project management consultancy. If you attend, if you sit for placement for any project management consultant, then they can ask you, tell us 4 different types of precedence relationship, and these are the things. Like, one is called finish to start. It can be represented by FS, finish to start. Activity or event 2 cannot start unless event 1 is completed. So this is pretty common type of relationship. Like unless you don't do cat 1, you don't do your cat 2, because cat 2 exam also after cat 1, right? So it is as simple as that. Then FAT exam is the end. So which means before FAT, it is understood that you would have written cat 1 and cat 2 exam. So that's all. Those things are called a finish to start relationship, right? And the next is called the start to start relationship, right? So start to start, both can start simultaneously. Like if you have a digital assignment and J component project for this particular course, you can start both of them simultaneously. You don't have to really wait for digital assignment 1 to over and the J component to start or something like that. So you can start Varun, could you please mute your audio? All right. So it is both, can start together. So which means that finally you'll be finishing that during that stipulated semester. So that's what basically it means, start to start. Then both are called finish to finish. Like both are very important. Unless you don't finish, you cannot take up the next item. Say for example, your laboratory exam as well as your DA3. Say we can have both have the same deadline. Then you have to finish both to appear for your FAT. You can appear for a FAT, but it's kind of a prerequisite, right? So if you don't do your DA3, you're gonna do it after your FAT, right? So you will gonna evaluate after your FAT exam and upload it, right? So generally people do it before, and so is the laboratory exam, right? You will be finishing before your FAT, so which means that DA3 end day and lab FAT can also can have at the same time, or finish to finish. Both can be finished at the same time. Then start to finish. One is started, another is finishing. Something like this is an opposite of finish to start. Like in a finish to start, we will be finishing the previous activity, then we'll start the earlier one. In this case, we'll be starting the previous activity, starting the prior activity and finishing, that particular activity, or something like that. So this is something like, if you have a line production, one machine is used for polishing, another machine probably used for, or the same machine. It has to wait till the polishing work is done or the lathe work is done. So then you can use it for other works or something. So that's basically a start to finish. You start the next batch or the batch that is prerequisite, then probably you'll finishing the next step or something, the same ideal step or something. Like the stitching and embroidery, probably you can start stitching and provide, you start embroidery and followed by stitching that particular, step or something. But this is very uncommon. But the first three are very common predecessor relationship. The third one is as simple as that. Right. So this is a typical example of four precedence relationship. Right. All right. So next we'll move on to a very important thing. It's called construction of project network diagram. Right. So initially we talked about project management, and we talked about activity on node and activity on arrow. Then we also meanwhile defined the terminologies associated network analysis or project network diagram. We talked about network and we talked about activity, we talked about event and we talked about event project, what is project, and we talked about the rules for constructing the network diagram. And also we talked about what are the things that you shouldn't do, like the dangling error or the hanging error or the looping or cycling inside a network diagram and so on. Now we will put our heart and soul in making this particular diagram or constructing this particular network diagram. Right? So this is the overall tabulation. This is on activity and arrow diagram. Generally, we will be omitting activity and node diagram, because activity on arrow diagram has a real applications to engineering field, especially construction or project management or production sectors. They look into activity on arrow than activity on node, and it has its own implications, because activity on arrow can have a very lucid representation of the entire projects or the entire the activities in the entire project and something like that. So first will be the serial number. So we have got 17 activities, activity A to Q. We have got a very big network diagram having 17 activities. Then predecessor, as I told you, it is from the start till that particular activity. Say for example, activity A is a starting activity, which does not have any predecessor. The reason is that it's a start activity. It does not have any predecessors and does not have any even immediate predecessor. But there's another term called successors. Successors are activities after that particular activity. Like for example, after activity, what could be the possible activities possible? right? So that is B, C, and D, or immediate successor. So B, C, and D should follow A immediately. Then successors, all the other activities in the network diagram that makes use of activity A, we call a successor. Right? So whatever activity that emerges out of activity A is what we call a successors, right? So overall successors. Then if you take a look at the last activity, it does not have any successor because activity Q after that, that's the last activity and does not have any activity to follow that. If there is any activity to follow that, then that will definitely not be a last activity. It's as simple as that. So Q does not have any successors. But if you talk about Q having almost all the activities as the predecessor, which means that since the last activity, all the activities that gets or corroborates into Q was the predecessor for activity Q, the last activity, and which immediately preceding that, immediately previous to activity Q or these NOP. So we'll be constructing a network diagram based on these details. Like in examination, generally we will be omitting the node link. For explanation, for clarity, I've given you the node link. In examination, generally we will be giving only predecessor and successor. You have to find out node link and immediate predecessor and immediate successor. So there are methods to understand or to find out the immediate predecessor and immediate successors. So we'll define that probably tomorrow, but understand that at present we'll be defining what is a network diagram and how to construct this particular 17 activity project network diagram, right? Let's we'll talk about this Fulkerson's rule of numbering events a little later. So I'll put the overall picture. So I think I can put side by side from left to right, and same way we have also have backward pass construction. In a backward pass, we'll take the last activity and construct the event, the entire project network diagram through first activity or initial activity. In a forward pass, from the initial activity, we'll construct to last activity. Right. So this is the typical project network diagram. Let me define it by this way itself. All right. So we have got forward pass. We'll be using predecessors only. We don't use successor since we have given node link and predecessors and immediate predecessor. It will not be very difficult for us to do the forward pass. Let's run through the forward pass. We'll just take a chunk of this particular thing. We'll do step by step. Activity A, which does not have any predecessor, and node link 1 to 2. As simple as that, node link 1 to 2 is activity A, and this is an activity on arrow, right? And activity B has an immediate predecessor of A and node link 2 to 3. So which means that it should follow after this end node of activity A, that is 2 is a common, and it should form something called 2 to 3. And can you visualize this? So this is how you generally make activity 2 to event 2 to 3 and activity B. And same way C also depends on A. So at this point I have got here, which is 2 to 4 is C, and D is 2 to 5. Say with the 2 to 5 we have got D. Remember, as I told you in the activity on arrow and node example, I have made initially like this. It's a trial and error. If C has problem in connecting, so I'll move C down and D above, and if D has problem, I can move C or D above so that I can manipulate this and absolutely no problem. All right. Since the logic is it should follow A, that's it. So if there is any problem, if you can't construct it, then you can finish the project, right? So as simple as that. Then activity E has A and B predecessor, but it follows B. Say activity E has A and B as predecessor. You see A, B is the predecessor for activity E, whereas B is the immediate predecessor. It is immediately before this. And remember, you cannot provide it like hanging. You just initially connect it to some event and check whether it is valid or not, something like that. Then F has D. F will be followed after D and invariably A and D. And same way G has B, So we'll take G as P, and then H has A, B, G, H has A, B, G, and I'm connecting to a nearest node. You can even connect it here because it's at all trial and error. So I'm just connecting it here, and followed by I has got C, E, F, and H. I has C, E, F, and H. So it means all these things are connected to I. Hence our assumption is okay. So we can carry forward. And finally, J is after D. So J is after D. So probably J will be here. Yeah, I just, instead of leaving it hanging, I'm just connecting it to the nearest node. And then if it is the logic is fine, I will continue. Otherwise, I'll erase it and connect it with the other node. Then K, then L, then followed by M, then N, then O. Remember here, you can see N, I've just made it straight. Then O, I just made it straight. Then I understand that I can bring this down. Yeah, so that it will be something uniform, structural, looks aesthetic, right? So as simple as that. And then finally activity Q, which has got all this. So this is how you carry forward your network diagram from start to end activity. And this is what we call a forward pass construction, right? We need to do it backward pass also to verify whether our forward pass is correct. And also during a critical path method for the analysis of network, the backward pass method plays a huge role, right? So we'll talk about that when we talk about uh, critical path method. But as of now, understand. And the Fulkerson's rule of numbering events, since we have given node links here, it is it doesn't have any issue at all. Like, but if node links are not given, you have to construct the nodes such a way that one, this the least of all the numbers or even numbers is the start event or the start node, and the maximum of all these things will be the end node. So you cannot have 10 here and 9 here. You can only have 10 here because that represents the end of a project. So that's the one rule number one. Rule number two is that it should be progressive, like 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Then it is not like 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, or something like that. So it should be as per the logic. The movement of the arrow depicts the numbering of the events. And finally, we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then followed by 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, right? Since it's a 17 activity and 10 events, we generally don't have much confusion in terms of numbering events. Take a real-time project which may have 1,000 activities, which means 1,000 into 2 or approximately 1,500 nodes. Then probably naming them will be a crucial part, and it is essential. If you reverse them or if you provide poor nomenclature or poor labeling, then it might be a huge disaster when you execute the project. So as simple as that. So that's how people generally have a rule called Fulkerson's rule. The person who have developed the numbering of events or something like that, right? Next, we'll get into the backward pass construction. In the backward pass, we'll be taking successor. Remember, in a forward pass, we'll be taking it predecessor and immediate predecessor. And in a backward pass, we'll take immediate successor and successor. And one more step we will do is that we will reverse the order. In a forward pass, we have taken from A to Q, the activity. And we talked about predecessor and immediate predecessor. In a backward pass, even though we take successor and immediate successor, but we will reverse the order. Like we will be putting it Q to A. So that is the key to form the backward pass. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. You can, with the A detail, you cannot generally dive in and solve or create activity queue, and simple as that, right? So same way, 9 to 10 is activity queue, no successor, and it is like that. Then what follows this will be the question mark. So P follows, P precedes Q, which means the left hand side. So P is a prerequisite for Q. Then same big O is also prerequisite, and NOP. As a couple of minutes earlier, we talked about the immediate predecessor of queues and OP, and followed by the construction of the different things. And finally, we'll have the same network diagram. So the same network diagram we have constructed from the backward. So in the forward pass, we have constructed from the start to end. In a backward pass, we have constructed from end to start. Right? So as simple as that. Right. So some of the other concepts associated with this network analysis called redundancy removal or finding out immediate predecessor. I repeat, in examination, we'll be giving only the tabular column that has got activity, predecessors, successors. We will not give node links. You have to make up the node link by creating, finding out immediate predecessor and immediate successor and drawing the network diagram. Then you can label it using Fulkerson's rule. As simple as that, right? So that comes to end of today's lecture.